How can silence know you when knowledge is usually associated with thought, language, and analysis? This question challenges one of the most basic assumptions of modern thinking. We tend to believe that knowing requires concepts, memory, and verbal articulation. If something cannot be described or explained, it is often treated as vague or incomplete. Silence, in this framework, appears as absence, a lack of information rather than a form of understanding. Yet lived experience quietly contradicts this assumption. Some of the most decisive recognitions in life occur without words. Moments of clarity often arise when thinking temporarily quiets. Self-understanding deepens not through additional analysis, but through a pause in narration. This contradiction forces a deeper question. Is silence merely the absence of thought, or is it a different mode of knowing altogether? According to Ibn Arabi, silence is not empty. It is a form of knowing that precedes thought, a mode of recognition that does not describe you, but knows you directly. Modern psychological life is marked by constant mental activity. Thoughts stream continuously, attention jumps rapidly, and silence is often avoided rather than valued. Many people report discomfort when external stimulation stops. Quiet moments are quickly filled with sound, screens, or internal narration. Neuroscience helps explain this pattern. The default mode network remains active during rest, generating self-narration, memory replay, and rumination. At the same time, cognitive overload reduces clarity when the mind is constantly stimulated. Attention fragmentation weakens the capacity to remain present without verbal engagement. The problem is not thinking itself, but the belief that thinking is required at all times. Silence becomes associated with loss of control or productivity. Self-worth subtly shifts toward mental output, ideas, opinions, explanations. The consequences are significant. Anxiety increases. Rumination intensifies. Self-awareness weakens. Non-conceptual understanding becomes inaccessible. This situation is reframed entirely when silence is treated not as absence, but as the deepest mode of presence. The analysis begins with how knowing itself occurs. The deepest knowing is not conceptual. Thought describes reality. Silence recognizes reality. Description requires distance. An observer and an object. Recognition does not. It is immediate. Modern thinking often equates knowing with representation. Something is considered known when it can be named, categorized, or explained. Yet all representation already presupposes awareness. Awareness itself is never represented. It is present. The insight follows naturally. Silence does not lack. Knowledge, it is the ground from which all knowing arises. Thought emerges from silence, not the other way around. Silence exists prior to thought, language, and interpretation. Before any description arises, awareness is already present. You do not think yourself into awareness. Awareness is already there before thinking begins. Even when verbal processing decreases, awareness remains. Sounds are heard. Sensations are felt. Experience continues without narration. A simple example makes this clear. Immediate recognition of danger or safety requires no words. The knowing happens first. Explanation may follow later. Silence, in this sense, is not empty. It is already informed. Without this silent awareness, thinking itself could not occur at this point. The phrase silence knows you may still sound metaphorical. The clarification is precise. Silence does not know about you. It knows you by containing you, before any story is told about who you are. You are already present. Identity narratives arise later. They can change. The fact of being present does not. You are aware of yourself before describing yourself. Thought constructs identity by telling a story. Silence recognizes existence directly. Without story, this is why silence knows you more intimately than any description ever could. Modern culture often assumes that self-knowledge requires analysis and explanation. The more you can articulate about yourself, the more you are thought to understand. There is a fundamental limit here. Language always lags behind reality. Experiences occur first. Explanations follow. Emotions are felt before they are named. Decisions are made before they are justified. Meaning is sensed before it is described. Verbal knowledge interprets. Silent knowing recognizes. Confusing. Interpretation with recognition leads to endless analysis without clarity. A deeper implication now appears in thought. There is always a subject thinking about an object in silence. This division relaxes. Knowing and being coincide. There is no gap between awareness and what is known. When listening deeply without commentary, there is no separate listener analyzing sound. There is only listening. Separation is a function of thought. Silence dissolves this division, allowing recognition without distance. A paradox now becomes clear. How can something without concepts be intelligent? Because intelligence precedes articulation. Language expresses. Knowledge, it does not create it. Skillful action illustrates this. A musician or athlete responds appropriately without conscious calculation. Intelligence is present without verbal reasoning. The same is true of silence. It is non-discursive intelligence. Silence does not compete with thought. It grounds it when translated into practice. The shift is subtle but decisive. Attention rests without. Narration is not suppressed. It simply no longer dominates. This reduces rumination and improves emotional regulation. Decisions clarify when overthinking subsides. Experience is processed more cleanly when it is not immediately interpreted. The rule is simple. Do not try to think. Silence. Allow awareness to settle. Silence does not remove. Intelligence, it refines it. The central insight is now clear. Silence is not empty. It is a form of knowing nothing. New is added. What changes is the relationship to knowing itself. Silence does not wait to be understood. It already knows you.